Hello, Education 1030 students. I hope everyone is having a great week. So we are trekking right along. We are still working in our job readiness module. So just to recap, you should have went through and completed all of your Focus to Career assessments and viewed your results. With those results, you were going to pick 3 careers from the results Focus to Career gave you, and you we're listing the top 3 choices based on those Focus to Career results. And you were going to fill out the worksheet. The other thing that you had to do was create your personal mission statement. Now, I had a few questions about where to submit your job readiness portfolios. Um, Items such as your personal mission statement and so on and so forth, but I will show you that in just a little bit. Um, One thing to note is that if you went through the course Getting Started module, you'll remember that this course is high impact practice, and you can actually earn what we call a badge, a digital badge. And that comes from the work of your job readiness portfolio. So if you complete your whole portfolio, your name will be um, submitted, and you will actually receive what we call a digital badge, where you can go ahead and show this to employers. Like, this is my personal mission statement, this is my resume, my cover letter, this is how I did in my interview, and so on and so forth. So that is important for you to note. We want to be job ready. And if we're going to go through and create this portfolio, we wanted students to have a chance to earn what we call the digital badge. So I'm actually going to talk more about that in the next video, because we'll have a lot of this done, and I'm going to kind of walk you through how do we receive that digital badge and what do you need to do. Um, that way you can keep up with it and you can show potential employers. And also remember, this portfolio should be a working portfolio, which means that think of it as working drafts. So what I mean by that, as you get more experience, and as the things that you do in school, and as you graduate, you're going to keep updating, your resume. You're going to maybe change your personal mission statement a little bit. You may change cover letters depending on which position you're applying for. So it's a good idea for to always be keeping these things updated. Also, if you haven't heard of LinkedIn account, that is an kind of a platform where you can go what we call networking, where you can look at people that are in the field in which you're interested in, and you can kind of connect with them. So sometimes even businesses and organizations have LinkedIn accounts. So that's a professional account for you to have. Now, this is not required, but again, if that's something you want to have inside of your portfolio, then you would create your account, and then you would have your information, and then you would post that to Dropbox. So that's an option for you as well. So let's go ahead and jump and look at the rest. So we are going to start looking at resume and cover letter. So if you look under the job readiness module, I do have quite a bit of resources here for you. One of them being the templates for the resume, and the other is the cover letter templates. We also have some things about how to dress for an interview, what to wear, what not to wear, how do you actually prepare for an interview. And that's important, because if you scroll down a little bit more, you're going to be seeing job readiness mock interview, which I will talk about in just a minute, because I want you to start working on that as well, and what we're going to do, especially since this is an online course. Okay, so let's first go ahead and get into the resume and cover letter. Now, some of us have created a resume before, some of us have no idea what I'm talking about, and that's okay. We're all in different places. But what is a resume? So, resume is just, it is something that employers will request in addition to you filling out a job application. So when you're applying for a job, it's a document, and it summarizes all of your job skills. It puts your education background down there, any specialized skills you have. So basically, it just brags about how great you are, right? It showcases why you're qualified for this position. Sometimes what can accompany the resume would be what we call cover letter. And cover letters are very, very customized, and we always encourage you to create a cover letter for each position you apply for, whereas your resume will stand pretty much the same. And as you gain more skills and experience, you'll update those. But nonetheless, it's not going to change too much, but your cover letter will always be changing. So when you're creating a resume, we say less is more. It will be a one-page document. We never say two, even though it says 1 to 2. Your 2 pages that you will submit in addition to your application is always going to be the cover letter and your resume. It should never be longer than that. Think about the employers, their human resources, or whoever's in charge of going through and looking at applicants or candidates' materials. Would you want to go through and read a 3 page resume? They really typically don't have time to do that. So we always say that a brief summary of your skills, 1 page is plenty. Now, you can print them out. A lot of times nowadays they are electronically submitted. So we want to think about when you are creating a resume and turning in your application materials as a candidate, think about making yourself stand out. So there's going to be a lot of qualified people applying for the same job, but how do you make yourself stand out? Well, sometimes people go a little above and beyond just a resume and cover letter. They'll do a video introduction, which really helps them stand out. Um, so, a resume needs to be updated often, regardless if you're looking for a job or not. So, once you graduate school and you go out into the workforce, it's a good idea to always revisit it time to time to maybe update any activities or specialized training you've done through your job. And just revise it. And the reason being said is because you never know where life's going to take you, right? You may want to apply for a promotion within the field that you're working in, within the same company, or maybe you had big life changes and you pivot and you do something else. So it's always important to have that updated and always revising it. Now, here's some important things I want you to remember when you're creating your resume. Okay. If for some reason you've never had any employment, um, think about things that maybe you've done in your church or experience you've had through school, whether it is like a practicum or internship. Those things can be put on the resume even if you've not had a physical job. Now, if you've had a job and maybe you have a significant lapse in employment, always be prepared to explain that in your cover letter or inside the interview. So, we wouldn't necessarily want you to put all that information and explain that in your resume. Your resume is just highlighting certain things, right? So, it highlights your education, it has your demographic, like contact information, and it also has your specialized skills and work experience. So, also, it's important for you to realize that personal information like if your relationship, if you're married or not, your religion status, if you have children, that stuff does not need to be included in a resume. It's also important for you to make sure that you are very professional when creating it. Double check, triple check for typos, grammar, sentence structure, all of those, poor verb usage. It should be very professional and it should be edited to the final draft where it looks really good. So you need to always make sure you have people look at it before you submit it, just to make sure that it's ready and good to go. Um, Also, when you're talking about resumes, it's important for you to always tailor your resume to that job. Sometimes employers might give you a rubric for candidates like this is what we're looking for. Go ahead and like look over your resume to make sure that it's not really off from what they're expecting because you may have to make some adjustments and edits in your resume. Even if you don't, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, even if you don't have a lot of job experience, you can still create a strong resume that might even land you an interview. So, like I mentioned, anything that you do through your, say, your church, social organizations, anything academic, volunteer work, responsibilities, internships, all of that can be included in your resume. And I strongly suggest that you put that in there since some of us may not have a lot of experience right now. So, with that being said, about your cover letter and resume that gave you a brief overview, I want you to kind of look through here. Now, This is Microsoft 365. This is the page it takes me to. But what I want you to do is I want you to look in your Word. And um, Word actually has a lot of good templates for you to use. So if you go to Word here, and I'll pull it up. Um, there are templates for you to use, or maybe you use a different program, but Word is something that everyone should have because it's part of your 365 Office as a student. So when you pull up Word, you can create it. You could create it from the start. You could use templates, whatever you want to do. So I'm trying to find here. Okay, so if you go in here and do resume, it might take it a minute to pull up. But while we're doing that, I'm just going to kind of, okay, here's one it's pulling up. Remember, this is just an example template. There's many on Microsoft Office that you could use, or you can use it really on anything. So we'll kind of let it do its thing and we'll come back here while it's loading it, and be patient, not like me. um, but there's templates too with the cover letter, and I'll go ahead and just open it up. If you go, it'll take you to the link, but you click view all templates. And again, it may take a minute to pop up. It's not always the fastest, but you'll see here are some examples of some cover letters. I always suggest students kind of look through and see what kind of shines as far as your personality. So let's see if it pulled it up. Okay, here it is. So let me go back. And let's download it. And when you hit download, it should pull it up. Um, let's see. Here it is. Okay, so you should be able to see it now. So you'll see here, one thing that I will note is on this one, there's a headshot at the top. A lot of times employers like that. I know for me, I always need to see a face or talk to someone when I'm trying to like size up the candidate. And I've been on plenty of, I guess, hiring committees. So it's important sometimes for you to stand out. Headshots really do. And if you're going to do a headshot, make sure it's of you by yourself and it's very professional. If you don't have anything besides candid photos of yourself, I suggest just leaving it off. But if you do have a professional headshot, you may want to include that. But you'll see your name is at the top, you have your contact information, your job title. Your job title typically will be around what you're applying for, or what you already do in your current job. And then you have a summary. So a summary is basically what your goal is. Okay, so what do you want to accomplish as far as what your job is? So if you look here, we know Sarah's a marketing specialist. She put results driven marketing specialist with over 5 years of experience in digital marketing, content creation, and campaign management. Proven track record of developing and executing strategies to drive brand awareness and increase sales. So, this is just summing up how awesome she is and where she's been. Like, this is her highlight of her career, of what you want to get to. So, when you're creating this, think about what that job entails. That's why that job readiness module, as far as the focus to career and the career exploration, was so important at the beginning, because it's letting you see how you can help. That will help you create a summary. Then you'll, of course, put your experience. These are going to be your jobs that you've done, your work experience. And like I said, if you do not have work experience, use your internships, anything that you've done, volunteers, all that stuff can be included. And I want you to pay attention to how the format is because the format is very important. It needs to be cohesive. It needs to just be bullet points. We don't write out full sentences or paragraphs. It's just simply highlighting what your duties are. So she put here, she's a marketing specialist, the company she worked for. You can even put where it was at. And then I would always suggest no more than three lines or three bullets telling what your highlighted position is, like what you were doing. And a tidbit here for you is if she's trying to apply for a higher level marketing specialist, right? And she's moving companies, she's going to read the job posting and she's going, or for you in your case, would go back to the job readiness portfolio or really researching that specific job and highlighting what's the most important things that they do in that job and then put those down as part of your skills, things that you were responsible for. Now, if you have a job that's completely different than what that is, still list what your duties, what you were responsible for, and then you're going to put your date. And again, use the same kind of format, the month, the year. You don't have to put the date as far as June 15th. Just put June 2018. And then if you're still working there, put present. If not, let's say we went June 2018 to December 2020, right? So we're using that format. And then you list your second job. If you only have one, just put only one on there. Then you'll have your education. Okay, typically in your education, you're only going to list your university. You won't list your high school. That's not necessary in professional employment. So they want to know where you got your degree from, right? So you would just put what the degree was, Bachelor of Arts in Marketing. This is the university, and these were the years they were there. And that's all you'll put. For you right now, you will just list Walter State Community College, Morristown, Tennessee. Um, it's important for you to go back and look at your major, what you're majoring in here. A lot of times you'll see that on your degree works, and it'll tell you Associate of Science and blah blah blah, or Associate of Applied Science, excuse me, and then what year you started and when do you plan to leave here. Even if you're going to university, you would still put when you plan on leaving. And then any certifications you might have, and then any skills. Now, it's important for skills for you to list specific skills that is needed for that specific job. So if you're doing marketing specialist, these are the skills needed. If you're going to be a nurse, these are the skills a nurse would need, and only list those skills for that specific job. Okay, and you'll see here it's all on one page. But I just always suggest go through the templates, look and see how many there are, which one kind of stands out to you. Now, the same can be said for the cover letter. Now, the cover letter is also a one-page document. This is where you can be a little bit more personable, share your personality, share your story a little bit more. We normally say that we don't have more than 3 to 4 paragraphs inside of a professional cover letter. So I'm going to give you an example of one here. Now, this one's not too fancy. It's pretty standard. You can look at which one kind of speaks to you as far as a template and use it. You will just use the same format that's provided in a template. So, for instance, on this cover letter, it kind of starts out just like a resume. You'll have your name, your job title, right? Your contact information. Now, if you do not have your own website, please just leave that out. Just put a contact number where they can reach you and then your email address. Um, I wouldn't suggest using your Water State email address. I would suggest using your personal email address. And another tidbit for you, if your personal email address is not appropriate, you may want to think about changing it before you list it on a professional cover letter or resume. Now, at the top here, this is going to be who you are sending this cover letter to. Now, that will depend on the actual job. You can make something up for this specific assignment, but if you are going to really be applying for a position, I suggest that you do a lot of research. So you're going to have to look on the web page like Indeed or Monster Jobs, jobs.com, monster.com, wherever it is that you're looking at the position where they posted it or on their website and see who's in charge of hiring because that's who this is going to be going to first before it goes up into higher administration. So you would put the name, what their title was, and what the address says. So you're going to have to do a little research every time you're applying for a position. It's important. You want to do your due diligence and see what kind of company you're working for before you just start handing out or submitting electronic uh, portfolios or resumes or whatever it is that you're sending them. Then you're going to start with your introduction letter. You will put dear and their name, who you're addressing it to. Your first paragraph is going to be short. It's just introducing yourself. So you would say, I am writing to express my interest in the general practitioner position at wherever the position's at. With a strong background in providing comprehensive health care, I'm confident in my ability to contribute to the exceptional medical services your clinic is known for. Okay, so really short and sweet introducing why you're applying. The next one's what we call the meat of the letter. This is where you're going to be putting all the things that's really focused for you. So for this one, you'll notice that they're talking about that they demonstrate a commitment to delivering patient-focused care, and they're talking about their experience, right? They have experience in clinical diagnosis, health promotion, chronic disease management, and then they start putting in their achievements. So if you got any awards, anything that you are involved in, that middle paragraph is where you're going to really showcase all your awesome things that you're doing. Then your last ones are going to be really saying that you've enclosed your resume and your qualifications, and then you thank them for their time. And then you close with your name and sign it. So that's pretty much going to be similar. It may be a little different, but the format's normally going to be the same on all of them. You just always have your 3 to 4 paragraphs. The first one introducing yourself, the middle section really highlighting your awesomeness and your skills you have, and then you thank them for their time. So just go through and see which ones that speak to you. And if you're working through it and you're like, I don't know if this is right, I'm more than happy to look at it for you if you just email it to me and I'll let you know how you're doing and if you need to kind of retract anything. The next two I also suggest you looking for how to dress for an interview. I'm not going to click that link, and how do you prepare for an interview. Now, the prepare for the interview one is really important just because it's going to go through about what I just mentioned about start researching. Because one thing I want you to know is when you're applying for a job in a company, in a professional position, it is a two-way street. You want to see if this company aligns with your values, your morals, what you want to do. Is this someone that you would actually like to work for? We got to get out of the mindset, oh, um, I'll just take anything. I just need a job, which is fine, but you also need to realize that this is where you're going to spend most of your time. So it's important for you to do your research and see if this is someone you could actually work for or and that you would be happy working for this company. Um, and you're just going to research them, and then it talks through how do you prepare, starting with the job description, your qualifications, conducting lots of research, and then there's links here to help you about how you can conduct research on a company and see if they're the right fit for you. There's a video too, how to prepare for an interview, and researching the company culture is important. And then some common answers that you would need to prepare. So it's important for you to prepare some answers ahead of time of the things that they might ask you. One of the most important things that they will always probably ask you about 98% of the time is, why do you want to work for us? Right? So this is a standard question. You need to be prepared, and it gives you some examples or what interests you about this role. Then they ask you maybe about your greatest strengths, and maybe something that's your weakness. It's important for you also at the end of the interview, they're going to always ask you, do you have any questions for us? Always ask a question, even if it's just one. Don't leave there saying, no, I don't have anything, because that is going to be an automatic dismissal most of the time. that just tells them, hey, they didn't really research, they're not serious, I'm going to look at another candidate. So it talks about how you can prepare a thoughtful question for an interview. And then the next one's important too because it talks about conducting what we call mock interviews. Mock interviews are wonderful. It's a great way to practice interviewing. It helps reduce that anxiety and boost your confidence, right? So it's important to conduct the mock interviews often as possible when you are going through this process of trying to get hired. Um, Always do it with someone that is going to actually give you honest feedback and really take this seriously. Okay, so if you have a friend that's not, they just go with the flow and not really serious, I think I'd find someone that would really help you shine and really figure out, okay, these are your strengths and these are what you need to work on. Also, it's important to always print out hard copies of your resume and cover letter because you may need them. I know today we live in a digital world, but it never hurts. Okay, so let's go back to mock interview. So now that we've talked about preparing for an interview and you're going to look through that on your own, I want to talk a little bit about the job readiness mock interview, which I will next week as well. So if you were an on-ground class, meaning in person, you would actually have mock interview set up where someone in the community would come interview you. Okay, like you were actually interviewing for a position. But since this is an online class, you're going to find someone that can interview you and you're going to record it on your phone. Okay. Now, there are instructions about this process. And again, I'm going to walk you through in a separate video because I don't want this video to be like 40 minutes long. But I wanted to kind of put it out there and you start looking for someone that would interview you. A practice interview is what we call it. So don't get upset or fret about it. It's just practice. So what you will do is I have some questions here for you and I'll go through this in the next video, but go ahead and find someone that can interview you for this class. Okay, and it'd be nice to do a mock interview on what you want to be when you get out of school, right? What you're interested in doing for work, for your career. So here's some mock interview questions that the person's going to ask you, and there is a rubric here as well. So let's look real quick at the questions. Okay, so this is what they would ask you. And they would write notes, things that they noticed, what your strengths were, maybe something you need to work on, something that stood out about you. Okay, and then there's also a rubric here, and this is how I'm going to grade you. Okay, and I always give this to students for big projects because you need to see how you're going to be graded on this mock interview, and it's going to be part of your portfolio as well. So I grade you on introduction, your appearance. Did you look professional? What was your voice like? Did you articulate? Did you use good grammar or did you use slang? Did you speak in confidence? What was your poise like? Posture, eye contact. And did you seem prepared? So those are things for you to look at as well. Now, if you look here, um, it will be submitted. So you will have to use your phone to record. So I would set the phone up where it's kind of getting both of you in the interview if you can. If it cuts off the person interviewing you, like the interviewer, that's fine, but you need to meet in the shot is the most important thing because those are things that we're going to be looking at because I can't see you. So you would need to make sure that you go ahead and start contacting someone to interview, do your mock interview, or what I like to call practice interview. Okay, so let's look at where you're going to be submitting these items. So if you've already submitted your uh, personal mission statement and your career interests, there is an actual section in the Dropbox called Job Readiness. This is where all of your documents are going to go. Now, I did separate them just because it's not going to be all in one thing. But you have your job readiness career interest worksheet. There's a Dropbox for your personal mission statement. There is a Dropbox for your job readiness cover letter and resume. And then the rubric form as well. So one thing I did want to explain too is the person interviewing you is going to fill out that rubric. Okay, so let's go back. So you will have to give them that rubric, meaning that here is what they're going to fill out. So this is really the things that the employer are looking for. They're looking at How do you look? Did you dress professional? How were you poised? Were you prepared with your resume, cover letter, all that stuff? So think of this as a practice interview for the job that you want to do. Your person interviewing you is going to complete this. I'm also going to complete one on my own. And that's what I meant a minute ago when I was talking. I wanted to clarify that. I will do my own, but the person interviewing you will also do one on you. And this is what will be submitted to the Dropbox. So it will go right here in this section, um, right here. Okay. So just make sure that you start reaching out. I will do a separate video next week talking about that as well. And you'll see that's due on the 23rd. All right. I hope everyone has a great week. I know that was a lot in this video, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I did also, before I let you go, wanted to remind you to go ahead and continue working on your Exploring the Field recording. Okay? All right. Have a great week. Until next time, take care.